So on May 26, 2024, Shreveport Fire Department was contacted for an apartment fire at what is known as the Jolie Apartments, formerly known as Quail Creek Apartments. When fire units arrived, they had heavy smoke and flames visible coming from the building. Within a couple of minutes, they called a second alarm, meaning they called for more resources. There were not enough resources on scene at that time to safely extinguish that fire. When they arrived, they did have a male from one of the windows that had to be rescued. It is now known to us that there was a domestic going on at that apartment complex. That male was involved in that domestic. But we have eyewitness reports that the female that was arrested, the 39-year-old Miss Kimberly Howman, was the one that was responsible at this time, or allegedly is responsible for the arson. Our fire investigators did an excellent job in gathering information, gathering eyewitness reports, and making an arrest. Of course, we know the Jolie Apartments is one of those apartments that has a planned cutoff for utilities, so it is very high profile right now. But however, it did not have anything to do with the fact that it was being closed. But we want to make sure that we do make mention that it did put a lot of people in jeopardy. That unit by itself had about 12 apartments in it. That individual was charged with aggravated arson because of the fact that there was someone living in those apartments, or that it could have injured someone. Also, we are looking to see about upgrading some charges for the individual, which is injury by arson. We had 3 firefighters that were injured during that fire. We take this very seriously. Anytime a firefighter, we know that we're in harm's way. We accept that responsibility, but anytime someone is burning something intentionally by arson and a firefighter is injured, we want to send the message that we will not play with those individuals. We want them to feel the full extent of the law. Our fire investigators are top notch when it comes to doing their job. They're very dedicated to the safety of firefighters and to citizens, and we want to make that very clear that we will go after you for any type of arson. We highly suspect several of these apartment complexes that will be losing utilities. We have made plans that they may end up going up in flames also, but we want to make a very bold statement that we will be investigating these so that we can charge people to the full extent of the law. Your question?
Yes, sir. What can you tell us about the injuries that the firefighters sustained during the fire?
Sure. So 2 of them were going to be just medical emergencies. One individual did receive a injury to his back with a possible fracture. We're waiting to hear from him. All of them were treated and released, but it doesn't take much for that injury by arson to be charged. But all 3 of those individuals are expected to return. We're waiting on word from the orthopedic doctor on one of those individuals. The other 2 will be back at work very soon.
And just to clarify, you mentioned that you guys were able to make an arrest based off of eyewitnesses.
Correct. And we do this every investigation. We try to get any type of camera footage. We ask around if anybody heard anything, anybody saw anything. Those are the best ways to investigate a lot of these arsons or any type of crime. We depend on the public. We need you to say something. If you saw something, we need you to say something. Here it is, 3 firefighters were transported to the hospital. It would be a very different conversation had I known if I knew somebody had some information and was not willing to share, while we have 3 firefighters that were transported from a scene on Sunday.
Any reason or any information on how the fire was started at this time?
At this time, the investigators have identified by talking to the person that has been charged with the arson how it was done. Again, it was a domestic. This is a pending case, so we won't really go into exactly what that individual possibly did.
People that might know what happened, anything like that, how can they get in touch with y'all?
Sure. So we use Crime Stoppers, Shreveport Crime Stoppers, 318-673-7373. That goes for every crime in the city of Shreveport, including these arson cases.
Can you talk about the fire that happened early this morning? There was also another arrest made.
Sure. There was a fire this morning. Also, police officers were already on a shots fired call. We did receive a call early this morning that there was, and it was called in by SPD, that there was a fire. It was put out by the time we arrived. However, that person had several burn spots in that apartment complex, also on the balcony, and admitted to leaving a fire unattended. Again, we want to send a bold statement that we're not, when you're putting firefighters in harm, you're putting other citizens in harm, especially at these apartment complexes, and we do not intend to play with these individuals.
So regarding the fire in the weekend, was this like a legal resident who hasn't moved out yet, or was it someone who is commonly known as a squatter?
Right. So most of these, especially for these apartment complexes, and this one also would have been a squatter. Of course, this is what we're seeing in Shreveport by dilapidated buildings, vacant buildings, blighted property. We're noticing that these are being done by people that are squatting in these homes. We are going to be looking at a lot of policy changes. This is not something that's just happening in Shreveport. I talked to the fire chief in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Austin, Texas, and also Atlanta, Texas. These are some things that they had to put in place. There are things they had to put in place to deal with these type of emergencies to keep our firefighters safe and to make sure they go home to their families at the end of the day.
Can you talk a little bit about that policy and
Sure.
the name of it?
Sure. So we're looking at it's vacant, blighted, and dilapidated properties. If we're able to identify, which is one of the things that we want to do, this requires our firefighters they know their neighborhoods. So we want to make sure that they know the homes that you probably should not enter. So unless there is someone screaming from a window, a door, or we have confirmed reports that someone is inside, a lot of what these policies do is what we're looking at. We have not moved to it yet, but a lot of what these policies do is we call it a surround and drown. It's a defensive attack. We just put copious amounts of water on it versus risking the life of a firefighter knowing the property should have been vacant.
So there was no relation between the fire today and the fire Sunday?
No relation at all. It's just coincidental. They both happened at the Jolie Apartments, which
When
is
you
how
say domestic, what do you mean?
they were having an issue. The male and female at that residence were having an issue.
And I know he asked about the fire Sunday, but about the fire today, was it also a squatter? Or was it a tenant?
Unsure on that. The investigator is off today. But again, that individual was charged with just simple arson for her role in leaving a fire. That very well could have been a potential to turn very serious for another 12 units.
So with the water officially going to be cut off, are other utilities still on for these apartments, or have they been disconnected as well? And we're seeing that these people are using like fire to like an open flame that they're building because there's no utilities. What do we know what's going on there with that?
Right. So don't know about the other utilities. The only one I'm familiar with because of course the city of Shreveport runs the water to those facilities. Yeah, I know they have them on a timeline for being cut off. Not sure on the other utilities. However, in planning for apartment fires, especially as they cut off utilities, we plan on them cutting all of the utilities off. They're going to have to find, if we continue to have squatters, they're going to have to find a way to cook, and they're not going to have a way to extinguish them. So we're planning for, we know that they're going to eat or whatever, and they're going to find a way to cook some food in those. Also, I mean, it's hot right now. They're going to find a way to stay warm also. So we expect them to have open flames, maybe even barbecue pits. We're looking at CO exposure going up also in a lot of these areas. Anything else? Again, I would like to really thank the Shreveport Fire Department investigations, fire prevention and investigations. They work very cohesively with Shreveport Police Department, ATF. A lot of times is involved in a lot of our investigations, but they are a very well-versed team, and I'm very proud to say that they made, an arrest, especially when you had 3 injured firefighters. Thank God no citizens were injured, but again, 3 injured firefighters is serious on a 2-alarm fire.
Did you say ATF?
Yes.
Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms?
Correct. They
How
have.
did they get looped into this?
Many times they help us with a lot of investigations. They have a certified fire investigator that works with them. They were not on this one, but they work. We work hand in hand with them.
That right there is an update from Shreveport Fire Chief Clarence Reese really talking about how they are taking these fires very seriously. He even explains that he suspects more fires in the area, especially the other apartments that are in connection with the utility scheduled cutoff date. Jolie Apartment is one of 3 apartments involved in, that scheduled cutoff date. And this was a fire that happened on Sunday where 3 firefighters were injured. And he really puts emphasis on the fact that they are not taking this lightly with 3 firefighters injured. And so the latest update that we received today was in regards to an arrest being made with someone who was allegedly seen responsible for that fire. So that was the name Kimberly Hellman. That individual was arrested. We have more information on our website in regards to that. But here, Fire Chief Clarence Reese providing us with an update in regards to how they will be monitoring the other apartments and as they suspect possible fires in the area as well. This fire happened on a Sunday, and I believe here in this press conference they mentioned that another fire in the Jolie apartment complex happened today as well. He said there's no connection with those 2 fires. There was the fire that took place on Sunday. He mentioned that was due to a domestic situation. So we'll be updating everything on our website. You guys can see more information right here on ktalnews.com. Also, further in-depth investigation with our reporter Miriam Samake. She will be live later in our newscast at 5 and 6 on NBC and 5:30 and 9 p.m. on Fox KMSS 33. Have a great day, you guys. We'll see you next time.